It was a sunny afternoon in the middle of a bustling city. Cars lined the streets bumper to bumper and the traffic light at the main intersection seemed to be stuck on red forever. Inside one of those cars sat Daniel, a man in his mid-30s, sharp suit, polished shoes, and a mind filled with deadlines, meetings, and responsibilities. He tapped his fingers on the steering wheel impatiently, glancing at the clock on his dashboard. He was running late for an important client presentation and every second stuck in traffic was another chance he might lose the deal. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, Daniel noticed movement near his window. A figure slowly approached, weaving between the cars. It was a beggar, or at least that was his first assumption. Her clothes were torn, her hair was messy, and she looked exhausted from standing under the blazing sun. She carried a small plastic cup, shaking it gently as she walked past car after car. Most drivers avoided eye contact, pretending to fiddle with their radios or scrolling on their phones, unwilling to acknowledge her presence. Daniel sighed. He had seen this scene countless times before. People asking for money at intersections, knocking on car windows, telling stories of hunger and despair. He had grown used to ignoring them. But something about this woman was different. As she came closer, he noticed a trembling in her hands and a sadness in her posture that didn't feel like the usual act. She stopped right next to his car window, lifted her face, and for the first time, their eyes met. Daniel felt his breath catch in his throat. Her face, though tired and worn, looked shockingly familiar. His mind raced, flipping through memories like pages of a photo album until it hit him like a punch to the chest. This wasn't just some random woman. He knew her, or at least, he once did. She was someone from his past, someone he never thought he would see again in a place like this. She was Emily. Years ago, when Daniel was still in college, Emily had been one of his closest friends. They had studied together, laughed together, spent countless nights talking about their dreams for the future. Emily had been bright, ambitious, and full of life. She wanted to become a teacher, to change the world through education. She was the kind of person everyone loved to be around. Daniel remembered the way her laughter used to light up entire rooms. But that was years ago. And now here she was, standing outside his car, begging for coins just to survive another day. Daniel froze, his hand hovering near the window button, unsure what to do. His heart pounded as a flood of emotions hit him all at once: shock, sadness, guilt, disbelief. He rolled down the window slowly, his voice trembling as he spoke. "Emily, is that you?" Her eyes widened in recognition. For a moment, she looked as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Then tears welled up in her eyes, and she nodded. "Daniel, oh my God. It's been so long." The world around them seemed to fade. The noise of honking horns, engines revving, people shouting, all of it blurred into the background as Daniel stared at the woman he once knew. She looked so different, yet there was no mistaking her. He had questions racing in his head. What happened to her? How did she end up here? The light turned green, and impatient drivers behind Daniel honked loudly, forcing him to move. He quickly reached into his pocket, pulled out a few bills, and handed them to her. "Meet me after the intersection. I'll park over there," he said urgently. She nodded, wiping her eyes, and stepped back onto the sidewalk. Daniel pulled his car over to the side of the road, his heart still pounding in disbelief. Emily approached slowly, almost hesitant, as if afraid he might drive away, but he didn't. He got out of the car and stood face to face with her. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Then finally, Daniel broke the silence. "What happened to you, Emily? How did things get like this?" Emily looked down at her worn shoes, her voice shaky. "It's a long story, one I'm not proud of. Life didn't turn out the way I thought it would." Daniel gently guided her to sit on a nearby bench under the shade of a tree. He listened as she began to share her story, a story that would shake him to his core. After college, Emily had indeed started pursuing her dream of becoming a teacher. She found a job at a local school and was passionate about her students. But along the way, life threw challenges she never expected. Her father fell gravely ill, and with mounting medical bills, Emily struggled to keep up. She worked extra hours, took side jobs, and sacrificed her own well-being just to support her family. Then, tragedy struck. Her father passed away, leaving her devastated. At the same time, her mother's health began to decline, and Emily felt trapped in a cycle of grief and responsibility. She tried to stay strong, but the financial burden became overwhelming. Eventually, She lost her job because she missed too many days caring for her mother. One misfortune led to another. Debt piled up. Friends she thought she could rely on slowly drifted away. When her mother passed too, Emily was left with nothing, no family, no home, no savings. She tried to find work, but with her appearance deteriorating and her mental health suffering, doors kept closing in her face. She found herself on the streets, reduced to begging just to have enough to eat. As Emily spoke, tears streamed down her face. Daniel listened silently, his chest tight with emotion. He couldn't believe how much pain she had endured while he was climbing the ladder of success, too absorbed in his own world to notice what had become of his old friend. "Emily, I'm so sorry," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I had no idea. I should have reached out. I should have stayed in touch." She shook her head softly. "It's not your fault, Daniel. Life just has a way of breaking people sometimes." But Daniel refused to accept that. Looking at her, he knew he couldn't just walk away and leave her like this. He owed her more than that. She wasn't just another stranger on the street, she was Emily, the friend who once believed in him, who had been there for him during his darkest college days. At that moment, Daniel made a decision that would change both of their lives forever. He told Emily to get in his car. She hesitated, worried about how she looked, ashamed of the person she had become. But Daniel insisted, "You're coming with me, I'm not leaving you here." She finally agreed, and together they drove away from the busy street. Daniel took her to a nearby cafe, bought her food, and watched as she ate hungrily, as if she hadn't had a proper meal in days. He promised her that he wouldn't let her go back to the streets. In the days that followed, Daniel helped Emily find shelter, connected her with resources, and even offered her a position at his own company, starting small but enough to rebuild her life. Slowly but surely, Emily began to heal. She cleaned up, regained her confidence, and little by little, the spark that Daniel remembered from their youth began to return. Months later, she stood tall again, not as a beggar on the street, but as a woman with hope, dignity, and a future. And it all started with the moment Daniel opened his car window and recognized her face. This story reminds us of something powerful. Every person we pass by has a story. Behind every weary face, every outstretched hand, there is a life filled with dreams, struggles, heartbreaks, and battles we may never understand. Sometimes all it takes is one act of compassion, one moment of recognition, to change the entire course of someone's life. So the next time you see someone in need, remember Emily's story. Because you never know who they might be, or how your kindness could transform their tomorrow. Thank you for watching this story until the end. If it touched your heart, don't forget to share it with your friends and loved ones, because stories like these deserve to be told. And remember, kindness is a gift that costs nothing but has the power to change everything.